Okay, I am so excited for this video. Like, you guys have no idea. This is the sort of video that I've sort of wanted to always make, like with like last year and stuff, since I guess the main conspiracy theory iceberg video came out, where I think it was like Wendigoon who was making it. This conspiracy theory iceberg is the sort of updated version of that. It has a lot more topics that were not covered on the main iceberg, and other sort of things that are more recent, where things like there's a lot more information that's come out. So the main iceberg was made about in 2014, 2015, and this is sort of updated one where it has more things on it, such as like, you know, the COVID-19 virus that was pretty recent. And there's a lot more things where in the last few years a lot more information has come out about certain things where they weren't around like about a year or two ago. So this is pretty fun. And yeah, I haven't ever made a iceberg video before, but I'm gonna have the photo of the iceberg down in the description. And you know, it's a really interesting thing. When I was doing research for the first, like before the iceberg, people kind of just got deleted for making certain posts where they were asking sort of questions, and I don't know what happened. I don't know if they just got their accounts deleted or they deleted their accounts, but I tried to find a lot of information for things and it's just gone. Where like it's literally trying to get this photo from the place that it was so difficult, and trying to get some information about certain things were just so difficult. In the first two, three, it's not too hard, but in some of the ones that are more down, whilst I was just like looking into them, yeah, I don't know, people are kind of getting deleted for talking about a few of these things. So this is gonna be fun. This is gonna be really fun. But yeah, let's get into the first tier. This is the sort of common tier. It has like the sort of common things. And if anyone doesn't know what an iceberg is sort of just a way to represent information going from top to bottom, where it usually has like common things to least common things in that sort of manner. And yeah, this is sort of just basically that. However, I don't know who made this iceberg. There are a few like errors, or like, I don't know, sort of English things that aren't correct, like celebrities faked they're dead and now live on Cuba, right? That's like from tier 3, where, you know, it's not that big of a deal. But anyways, let's get into it. Let's see how this goes. It's gonna be really fun. Let's begin. I'm just gonna recommend that people also watch the main conspiracy iceberg, so the one made by Wendigoon. So that has a lot of information that links to both of these, and this is sort of like, depends on how you want to see this. This has a lot of things linked to the other one made by Wendigoon, which was like the tier 1 to 10, which he did like over the course of a year. But this one is pretty similar to it, but it has a lot of aspects from that to this. So you can either just watch this first or watch that first, but I think it would get a more deeper understanding of these topics if you watch those as well. But anyways, yeah, let's get into it. I'm just gonna put this other disclaimer in, is that I don't really believe a lot of these things that are being said. So, you know, do your own research, and, you know, don't just believe everything on the internet, because, you know, as the saying goes, 43.596% of facts you read on the internet are wrong. So anyways, yeah, do your own research and whatnot. Big Pharma is the idea that the government and pharmaceutical companies are suppressing modern medicines. So these companies have these alternative medicines that could cure people and help people, but in the efforts to make more money, they halt like telling people about it and they keep it a secret. So yeah, so the conspiracy theory is that they sell these sort of medicines that only heal people like 5% at a time, rather than just giving people the vaccine. But the theory goes even deeper than that, by saying that pharmaceutical companies are making people worse so they can get more money from them. So other sort of like diseases that can only be treated via like sort of medicine, pharmaceutical companies are inventing so they can sell vaccines and they can sell medicines to these certain things. So that's basically government controlling big pharma and stuff, or pharmaceutical companies in line with government and politicians and whatnot. 9/11 was an inside job. This is a theory that 9/11 wasn't done by Al Qaeda on 11 September 2001 at about 1:46 BST, but instead it was an inside job done by the US government and the US military for certain reasons. So as like the official story goes, is that there were 4 passenger planes that were hijacked. One went to a field outside DC, one went to the Pentagon, and the other 2 went to Twin Towers, and about 3,000 people ended up dying. So it was one of the biggest terrorist attacks in history, right? And the official story is that Osama bin Laden and Al Qaeda, they decided to do it. However, the theory goes, and it says that the US military, or the Clinton Foundation, Bill Clinton, they just wanted to start war in Iraq to get access to oil and other things. So, and they figured out the way to easiest way to get people on board with this is to make someone a scapegoat, and it's be like, look, this is this figure, he's the person that did it, we need to start war there to make people enraged and stuff. So that Osama bin Laden was just a scapegoat, and he wasn't really a part of it. And then there's also a further in-depth saying that the building was sort of demolished from the top down in a controlled explosion, and they go further to say that this is another reason why it was done by the US, by the US government, and it was an inside job. And then there's also just after, people say this, that just after the terrorist attacks, Osama bin Laden went on to a bunch of interviews saying, I have no involvement, it wasn't me. He was kind of, I don't know, happy about it, but he was it's not me. So they try to say, look, this is the situation. So it's most like an inside job done by Bill Clinton to try to get more oil and start war in different countries. And after the war was started, in about 9 months, the UK also ended up joining that war. So this is sort of a thing where it was planned from way back. So this thing was planned for months. This is as the theory goes. So government conspiracy theories, this sort of thing. Yeah, basically inside job stuff. The next theory is that the Simpsons predicted the future many times. So the theory goes is that the Simpsons have predicted things in the future, such as FaceTime being invented, and Donald Trump getting elected as prime minister, and the elections being rigged and stuff. So the last two, so the last things that actually happened. And yeah, so it's a sort of way that the Simpsons, people who are script writing it, have a lot more ties, and there's secretly some sort of special people who have access to the future and future knowledge, so they put little references into their shows. And yeah, so if anyone's watched the actual conspiracy theory Iceberg, there's a quantum physics concept where every single world is infinite, that infinite worlds, infinite dimensions. So in every single world something has to happen. So maybe this is just a world where this is the Simpsons situation. And there's also another theory that's saying we have a camera into the Simpsons world, and Simpsons world is a real US, United States, that was affected by radioactive poisoning or something. And this is sort of a conspiracy theory saying someone in the writing group either of Simpsons also predicted 9/11 in certain situations, in certain scenes that you can see. But the theory also just says that the Simpsons time, the writer is either a time traveler or something, or they have pre-hand information, and they're dropping little hints and teasers throughout the show to maybe get more attention or more viewers or whatnot, or just they have these sort of they're secret aliens or something. Yeah, lizard people, stuff like that. Has really high ties to the government, and yada yada, this sort of situation. And yeah, that's kind of about it. So Simpsons predicting the future, a lot of it is coincidence, a lot of it has they've gotten wrong, but they've gotten also a lot right. So take of that what you will. The assassination of JFK. So as the story goes, on November 22nd, 1963, in Dallas, Texas, JFK, John F. Kennedy, was with his wife, and they were on a open motor coach, or on a motorcade, and he basically got assassinated. And as the story goes, it was Lee Harvey Oswald that was supposed to be the only shooter. However, in the theory goes that in other footage, there were lots of situations where Lee Harvey Oswald couldn't have been the only shooter, where it seems where there's bullets going into different people, and the angle of impact cannot have been the one, that Lee Harvey Oswald could not have been the one where he was the only shooter. So it sort of seems there were other people within the crowd or different places also shooting. And the theory goes more in depth, saying that the CIA was involved because the two people who were in the actual driving the car, they were from the CIA. So the two CIA people were supposed to be protecting him. However, when the shots started happening, rather than driving a lot faster, they slowed down to like a 7 mile per hour stop. So going 7 miles per hour when shots are ringing off is sort of very like counterintuitive. So it's the theory goes that the CIA was in on it and they already had pre-hand information, and they were the people who like conducted this because like JFK was doing a lot of things that the CIA was opposed to, and because of his like former ties to organized crime, and they didn't want someone like that running the country in other situations. So theory is basically JFK was assassinated by the CIA. Yeah. 5G has a bunch of different sections to it, where there's like a conspiracy theory within a conspiracy theory, and there's like different conspiracy theories that link to it. But like one of the main ones, well, since I guess like the 1990s, when like 2G was like sort of created, was that people was scared that this sort of thing gives off cancer and it causes cancer. So this is like one of the main conspiracy theories. But basically the 5G conspiracy theories is that it's been responsible for the unexplained death of sort of trees and birds and other sort of animals, where things have just been dying and people are like, oh, 5G causes this sort of thing. And yeah, that's like sort of one aspect to it. The other part of the theory is that 5G was initially trialed in Wuhan, China, where the COVID-19 pandemic sort of started. So people try to link that, and they assume that the 5G virus being tried, or 5G being tried there, was causing the COVID-19 virus, and the one causes the other. So whilst everyone was being put at home to sort of like stay at home now, and then whilst 5G was being rolled out everywhere, it was sort of causing more COVID. Basically, that's like a sort of another part of the theory. So the other part of the theory is that it was accidentally released by like the Wuhan Institute of Virology, or that it was like being deliberately made as like a bio warfare weapon, either by the Chinese or the Americans, or like together. And then the other idea is that like Bill Gates and like the global elites and the Illuminati and whatnot have you are in league with like the big pharmaceutical companies to institute like mandatory worldwide vaccinations. So where every like that would include like tracking chips, which would then be activated by 5G radio waves. So it's basically every single human will have a vaccine, and the vaccine will contain some sort of like microchip, and then 5G will activate it no matter where you go. But I mean, it's not like we all carry big ass phones with us or iPads and a dozen other things that can track your location. Anyways, the other sort of part of the theory is that like maybe the Jews have created the virus to collapse the economy for financial gain. Just yeah, there's a lot of stuff in this theory. A lot of things. 5G causes cancer, but the COVID-19 virus, and it's like similar to HARP, which was I think the US military's like high frequency active oral research program. And basically it's just causing a bunch of stuff, and yeah, it's a sort of stuff. And I think HARP also comes at the more deeper within this theory iceberg, and that's a pretty interesting one as well. But yeah, let's 5G, cancer, whatever, whatnot. Flat Earth basically goes as this, where the Earth is not a sphere, it's not a spherical or spheroid in any sort of way, and it's just completely flat. So you know how it's seen in images and stuff, that's how kind of like the Earth is. But the people who believe in this kind of go in and say it's sort of like another government conspiracy theory where they want us to think the Earth is round, right? But the Earth is not round, it's actually flat, because a lot of misinformation. So it's like the government lied about this, why do you not think they won't lie about this? So I'm not going to go too in depth with it. Flat Earth is sort of like kind of been debunked by every single person. Look at a photo, the Earth is not flat. Anyways, yeah, flat Earth. Okay, well, as I was recording all of this, man, oh my god, I recorded this whole thing, and then I realized I've been calling Bob Lazar, right, like Rob Lazar, but for some reason I have no idea why the hell people call him Bob. Because when I was researching it, his name is like Robert Scott Lazar, and I don't know what the situation, but I called him Robert the whole time. Or I was like Rob Lazar. But basically, Area 51 is a place in it's like an airbase in Nevada, and it's like the common name of the area. It's like a highly classified U.S. airbase or U.S. Air Force facility, right? And in this place, there's a bunch of different testing going on. They have nuclear testing, they have like radioactive testing going on, they have flight testing going on where they train pilots and stuff. A lot of stuff is going on in Area 51 basically. And the conspiracy theory is that they have alien aircraft, some sort of alien technology there. So this was exposed by Robert or Bob, whatever you want to call him. This was exposed by him in about 1984. So whilst he was working there, he worked in the S4 section of Area 51, which was basically a very secretive place where he required like the highest clearance. But basically, Bob Lazar was someone who was, I guess, a bit of like a mad scientist for his time, if you want to call him that. So he basically got hired for the job because of someone he knew, and he knew this person because I think whilst he was like 20, 21, he put like a jet engine inside of his car. So I forgot what car it was, but he put a jet engine inside of the car, and it made like headlines and everyone knew about him. And the person that he met for the job, or the person that told him about the job, was reading this newspaper whilst Bob met him basically. So that's kind of how he got the job. And it's a big conspiracy theory because people can't, like, it's very hard to know if he's telling the truth. But basically, in the late 1980s, they were trying to reverse engineer extraterrestrial technology, and this is what the conspiracy theory is that Area 51 and the US government, you know, like these government politicians and stuff, and Area 51, they have this alien technology that they're basically hiding from everyone. They don't want anyone to know. But this sort of area technology was this sort of alien technology dealt with a power source basically. So there was a sort of power source, and it had its own like gravity field. But anyway, bubbles are shine a light on all of that, and I think to this day it's still unconfirmed fully as to what it was. But yeah, that's the conspiracy theory of Area 51. And also, this was recorded like a while later, this section, so if my voice is completely different or something, it is like 1 a.m. in the morning and I'm trying to finish my work, but I just thought that I had to record this bit because it was bugging me that it was like it was wrong. But yeah, Robert, Bob, whatever, exposing the government and whatnot. But yeah, it's pretty fun. Anyways, Epstein didn't kill himself. So this is the theory of Jeffrey Epstein, where he was found hung in his own cell. So supposedly he had committed suicide. However, there's a theory that he did not commit suicide and was actually killed off. So let me just give a bit more information. So Jeffrey Epstein was like an American financier, and he was just a very, very like wealthy person in general. And he was in like contact with a bunch of famous people, and he had sort of like a bunch of just associates. So he was associated with like Trump and then Prince Andrew and people from Harvard and then the Clinton family, like Kevin Spacey, Chris Tucker, so many other politicians and like so many celebrities and stuff. But basically, Epstein owned an island called Little St. James, which is just in the US Virgin Islands, and he owned a bunch of jets and a bunch of boats, and he would basically bring people, supposedly kids, to this island, and you know, whatever would go on, he would basically throw parties, if I'm just like, you know, saying it like that. But yeah, that's basically what he does and what he did. But basically, the theory was that he was gonna expose the situation and stuff. So he had like a black book with like over 1,000 names in it, with which like really, really high political people. And then basically the theory goes was that it was basically he was just killed off, that people such as like Democrats and liberal celebrities had him assassinated because he knew too much. Basically, at that point, when you know this much and all of these famous people, and he was doing this sort of things that involve violence, and he was sort of like charged for it, then it was the point where all this information was going to get into the public hand, and if he was going to start talking, then it was just a lot easier to kill him. So whilst he was in a jail cell waiting for his trial, he was killed, right? On, I think it was like around August 10th. So he was killed. So it's a theory that all of these famous people, like he knew a few of them, decided like he was too much of a risk, so they had to kill him off because he knew too much. So this is that theory where Epstein didn't kill himself. So government power, people not wanting to, get exposed in a sort of way where bad stuff is going to come out about them, or they were involved with, I don't know, maybe minors, or they were just cheating on their wives or husbands or stuff like that. Yeah, this is the kind of situation. Lizard people, elites. So the theory is that these elites sort of are lizard people, where they're these Anunnaki people who are the reptile sort of people. And yeah, so to gain this much power, you kind of need to be very influential. I need to have a lot of like time is one of them. So there's a theory that these really powerful people, like the Queen Elizabeth, and like George W. Bush, Henry Kissinger, Bill and Hillary Clinton, and like a bunch of these people, they all kind of like try to live for a really long time, and they have a lot of time, they have a lot of information, and these people are sort of like the elites of the world. And they also said that these sort of lizard people run groups such as like secret societies like the Freemasons and like Illuminati. So the theory is that these, like, a bunch of these elites are basically just lizard people eating humans, and a lot of the things that they try to do is just to, I don't know, basically live on for a long time. It's kind of how it goes. Like all of these sort of things where they try to associate like big pharma and all of these things like 9/11, big pharma, 5G, all these things coming together, where the elites are basically lizard people. I mean, the Queen is nearly 100, definitely a lizard person. Illuminati. So on this tier, the Illuminati, there's a bunch of theories about the Illuminati, but however, like in the Illuminati is like a real organization. So I think they began in like 1492 in Spain, but like it officially, kind of not officially, but it mainly began in France in about the 1700s. So during the 1700s, like the rich and the sort of intelligent people of France kind of got together, and they had to go see what was in the government. So what was the government doing, and like what were they thinking? So they sent people to infiltrate the government, and they kind of didn't want, so the original idea of the Illuminati, like they wanted to have, was freedom of information and like all of these sort of other ideas where they didn't want things to get suppressed, because at that time, if you knew things and you were really smart and you figured stuff out that you weren't supposed to figure out, you were a witch and deaded instantly, get tossed in the fire, you Satan. But anyways, that was the theory. So these Illuminati, these people that got together and they infiltrated the governments basically. But the theory goes on to say that these people kind of still run the government to this day. So all of these countries where, France, the UK, Russia, I'm not sure about Russia, but like America, all these things that all have the Illuminati behind them controlling. And every significant thing that happens, every single thing that happens is because of the Illuminati, where all the significant things where they are sort of making things happen and controlling the world in a certain sense. So yeah, Illuminati. Vaccines cause autism. So it's like the final one for this video, but the theory basically is that vaccines cause autism in people. So in developing countries, the number of vaccines like administered has really increased over time, and from roughly, I think it was like 2004, 1 in about 68 children would receive an autism diagnosis. However, from like earlier years, the odds were like 1 in 10,000. So there's been a huge jump from the amount of people who have autism. So this is trying to say that the theory basically goes is that vaccine cause autism, but the theory goes that the people or the powers, whatever, they are trying to make society dumber and more subservient, and they're trying to introduce certain illnesses, and it links with big pharma, because big pharma and the government are trying to you know, give people autism to make, I don't know, sell more drugs and sell more medicines. And then it links with like the Illuminati trying to basically make people however they want to make them. It's not true, but it's on the list. But there's been a bunch of studies that are kind of like, I mean, I don't know, it takes the fun out if I say that. It's not really, it's, I don't know, always changing. Things are always changing. Like a lot of reports and a lot of information comes out where, you know, things in the future, let's see, maybe in the year 2100 a Freedom of Information Act comes out and they're like, oh yeah, like they did cause vaccines, or they did cause autism. I feel bad. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. This is the first episode of the conspiracy theory Iceberg. I know the first episode is going to be kind of all over the place. The information was just a bit like it wasn't the best like it could be, or like I wanted it to be. However, for the first video, I just thought I'd make it, put it out there, see how it goes. You know, I don't expect it to even get 5 views, just because like it's a first video and I've never ever made a sort of video before, and I have no idea how to actually do it. So this is just the audio. It's gonna be fun trying to actually put some, I don't know, content behind this, because I don't really have my face in this. I don't think I'm gonna put my face in it, just because, I don't know, privacy and stuff. But anyways, thank you guys for watching. I hope everyone enjoyed, and yeah, goodbye.